Okay, welcome. We're diving into some really interesting material you shared, Jan Gloomy's 2.0 revolution.
That's the one.
Mm.
Yeah, it's quite a framework he's proposing.
It really seems like it, a completely different perspective on, well, human existence, right? Focusing on growth, connection, this idea of expanded awareness.
Exactly. And it really starts with this contrast he draws between what he calls 1.0, our current state, you could say, and this potential 2.0,
Right.
which is presented as, well, a higher form of consciousness,
Okay.
a different way of being altogether.
So 1.0 is us now, with our usual limits, biological and, mental.
Pretty much. But then 2.0, it's like those limits start to dissolve.
Yeah.
He talks about the potential for biologically indefinite life.
Indefinite life, huh?
Through things like cellular regeneration. The whole aging process, he suggests, might become optional almost.
Wow. Okay. That's big.
And it's not just biology in isolation. It's tied deeply to technology.
How so?
Well, imagine a real symbiosis, maybe nanobots working inside us, keeping everything optimized, healthy.
Like an internal support system.
Kind of, yeah. Constantly fine-tuning. And he also pictures this complete harmony with the environment where our tech and biology just integrate seamlessly with nature.
Okay, but here's something that stood out to me. He's saying 2.0 isn't about throwing away 1.0, our current selves.
No, not at all. That's key.
Yeah.
It's framed as an addition, an expansion.
Expansion.
Yeah, like adding layers to what we are, a path to more understanding, more growth. That opens up as our perception broadens.
Which sounds maybe difficult to grasp for our current way of thinking.
Well, he points that out. Our 1.0 brain, as he calls it, tends to be linear, cause and effect.
Right.
And 2.0 is described as much more complex, interconnected, multi-layered. So yeah, it's challenging for that linear processing.
But he thinks we can start to get it.
He suggests we can, yes, by becoming more aware of subtle signals, maybe patterns we usually miss.
Okay. So with that kind of foundation, let's really get into the philosophy itself, this journey to self-realization, collective transformation.
Right. And the interesting thing is, it's not just abstract ideas. It's meant to be a tangible shift in how we actually live and connect.
How we connect with ourselves and with others.
Both, exactly, internally and externally. And he outlines these 10 key benefits, transformative benefits, he calls them.
10 benefits. Okay, that sounds significant. Where does this journey start? What's benefit number 1?
The first one is increased consciousness and self-knowledge. So for you, this means getting a deeper sense of your own inner world.
Going beyond just surface thoughts.
Yeah, understanding the hidden beliefs, the assumptions that really shape how you see things. It's about mapping your own motivations more clearly, a more direct path to self-discovery.
Okay, I get that. Like understanding why you react the way you do, not just the reaction itself. Makes sense. What's next?
Number 2 is harmony in relationships.
Yeah.
The idea here is developing communication that's deeper than just words.
How does that work?
Through energy, maybe intention, empathy, reading the subtle stuff. So for you, this could mean more genuine connections, fewer misunderstandings just based on words, and relationships that actually help both people grow.
A kind of energetic understanding, almost. Okay, what about conflict? Does 2.0 address aggression?
It does. That's the third benefit, loss of aggression and conflict.
A complete loss.
Well, the idea is, as you cultivate this deeper understanding and connection, your responses change. Instead of defensiveness or, competition,
you react differently.
you respond more calmly, compassionately. And that energy that would have gone into conflict, it gets freed up for something constructive. Peace, essentially.
Okay, so that covers relationships and conflict. What about our wider experience, beyond just people?
Good question. That leads to the fourth benefit, the experience of non-physical connectedness.
Non-physical, what does that mean exactly?
It opens up the possibility, in this framework, of sensing connections beyond just the physical world, maybe with, well, some might say spirits of the deceased or guiding energies. So for you, this could mean feeling less alone, like you're part of a much bigger web of existence.
That does sound comforting, especially, when you feel isolated. How does this expanded awareness affect creativity? Is that in there?
It is. Benefit number 5, increase creative ability.
How does that link?
By tuning into these broader energies, this sense of connection, your creative potential can supposedly just open up. Old blocks, self-doubt might fade.
So like a more inspired flow.
Exactly. For you, maybe in your work, your art, whatever, just more access to ideas.
Okay, so there's external connection, creativity, But it sounds like there's a lot about our internal state, too.
Absolutely. That's crucial. Benefit 6 is increased inner peace and balance.
How do we get there?
As you navigate your inner world with more awareness, connect to this bigger picture, you get better at managing thoughts and emotions.
Control.
Less about control, maybe more about letting go of what you can't control, staying present, finding joy and clarity right here, right now. So for you, it's about cultivating that inner calm.
Right. And does that inner peace affect how we interact with others?
It flows directly into the 7th benefit, more empathy and compassion.
Because you're calmer yourself.
Partly, but also because you're seeing from this more connected viewpoint. You start to understand others' perspectives more deeply. Naturally, you feel more empathy.
And that leads to
more compassion,
Yeah.
wanting to support people, accept them, building a more inclusive world based on respect.
It really paints a picture of a different way of being. What about purpose? Like the bigger questions.
That's benefit number 8, spirituality and self-realization. 2.0 encourages exploring your spiritual side, realizing you're part of something much bigger.
So finding meaning.
Yeah. For you, it could bring a clearer sense of life purpose, seeing your life as a spiritual journey, really.
Growth seems to be a constant theme here. What's number 9?
Growth and transformation. It's about reframing challenges, seeing them not as roadblocks, but as opportunities, chances to evolve personally and collectively. So you're always learning, always developing, extracting lessons from everything.
Turning negatives into positives, kind of.
Or at least into learning experiences, yeah, leading to deeper fulfillment.
Okay, and the final one, number 10. What's the ultimate outcome here?
The 10th is mutual benefits for all. It's about reaching a state where your actions naturally align with everyone's well-being.
How does that happen?
It's not forced. It comes from that place of interconnectedness, contributing to a society based on respect, positive energy, knowing that your growth helps the whole, and vice versa.
Okay, wow. 10 pretty profound shifts. Now, Gloomy also talks about communication between these dimensions, 1.0 and 2.0. He uses the word synchronicities.
Oh, yes. Synchronicities. That's a fascinating part of this. The idea is that these aren't just random coincidences.
Meaningful coincidences, like Jung talked about.
Exactly. Gloomy builds on that. In the 2.0 framework, these events are seen as potential communication channels, bridges between our everyday 1.0 world and that higher 2.0 awareness.
Can you give some examples? What does that look like?
Well, maybe you're thinking about someone you haven't spoken to in ages, and then suddenly they call.
Okay, yeah, that happens.
Or you're stuck on a problem, and you randomly overhear a conversation or see something online. That gives you the exact answer you needed. In this view, those aren't just luck. They can be signals, nudges from that interconnected reality.
So it's about paying attention when things feel significant, even if they seem random.
Precisely. Synchronicities could be seen as subtle guidance, maybe confirming you're on the right track with something.
Like if you're thinking about a change and you get positive signs.
Yeah, maybe a series of small positive things that seem related. It could be interpreted as a supportive signal, or even potentially communication from other energies or consciousness within 2.0.
How do we get better at noticing these? It feels like you'd need to be really open.
You do. Gloomy suggests cultivating that openness, being receptive. When something feels meaningful, even if it's just a coincidence, pause. Acknowledge it.
And reflect on it.
Yeah. Think about what was going on for you beforehand. How might it connect? And trust your intuition. Often there's a feeling of significance. Sometimes the meaning isn't obvious right away either. So trusting the process helps.
Can you give another couple of everyday examples?
Sure. Like maybe you decide you want to learn pottery, and the next day you walk past a studio offering beginner classes right near your house.
Okay.
Or you have a really vivid dream about talking something through with a friend, and they text you the next morning about that exact issue.
It's about not just brushing those things off.
Exactly. Embracing them with curiosity, willingness to see the connections. Gloomy emphasizes that the language of 2.0 isn't just words. It's energy, symbols, dreams. Even physical sensations can carry meaning for you.
Right. So if we bring all this together,
Uh-huh.
what are the big picture benefits of living more in line with 2.0?
Well, they really span the personal and the collective. Individually, more inner harmony, less stress, that sense of separation, loneliness that can fade as you feel more connected.
And decision-making.
Intuition gets clearer, becomes a more reliable guide, relationships deepen, become more authentic, and there's potential for healing too spiritual, maybe even physical.
So it sounds like a really fundamental shift. How does Gloomy see this transition happening for us as individuals or even society?
He describes it as a process, evolution, really, personal and collective, and it requires intention, practice, openness to the unknown.
Okay. Are there steps or key aspects?
He highlights a few key aspects. First, cultivate awareness,
Which means?
actively watching your thoughts, your feelings, the patterns in your life, tuning into those synchronicities we talked about, questioning the limits of just the 1.0 view.
Paying closer attention, basically. What else?
Second, compassion as a guideline, making conscious choices based on love, on supporting others' growth, considering the impact, acting for the greater good.
A more connected way of acting.
Third is trust in the process. Because, let's face it, 2.0 consciousness sounds pretty mysterious from our usual perspective.
Right.
So you need to cultivate trust that there's some guiding intelligence, even when things feel uncertain or difficult.
That trust piece seems important. Is there a fourth aspect?
Yes, silence and introspection. Things like meditation, mindfulness, even just quiet reflection. These are tools to help you connect with those subtler 2.0 signals,
Yeah.
to foster that inner knowing.
Okay. Now, something else you mentioned from Gloomy was about the deceased, their role in 2.0. That was thought-provoking.
Yes, his perspective is quite different there. He suggests that people who've passed on aren't just gone, they continue energetically within this broader 2.0 dimension.
And they can connect with us.
That's the idea, often through synchronicities, potentially.
Yeah.
It highlights this ongoing connection that isn't limited by physical presence.
So when you feel connection or maybe guidance from someone who's passed, that might be real, not just memory.
Within this framework, yes, that's the implication. These loved ones, as 2.0 energies, could potentially offer comfort, maybe inspiration, guidance, if you're open to the signals.
How would you perceive those signals?
He suggests trusting your intuition, paying attention to synchronicities that specifically remind you of them or seem linked to them.
That really shifts the perspective on grief, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, now Gloomy uses this equation. 1.0 plus 2.0 equals 1. What's he getting at with that?
It's a metaphor, really, a powerful one. For the core idea, the underlying unity between our normal physical life, 1.0, and this higher consciousness, 2.0.
Unity.
Yes, it's about seeing how they're interconnected, how they ultimately integrate into one reality.
So let's break that down. 1.0 in the equation is?
That's our everyday human experience. Reality through our senses, physical needs, emotions, operating in linear time and space, the realm of the ego, duality. But crucially, he says it's not lesser, it's essential, foundational.
Got it. And 2.0?
That represents the higher reality. Deeper connection, expanded awareness, where the split between physical and spiritual dissolves. Communication happens through intuition, synchronicity. Consciousness isn't bound by time, space, or ego. It's intrinsically interconnected.
Okay, so the one is the synthesis, the merging.
Exactly. When you see 1.0 and 2.0 as integrated, you get the whole picture. The ego from 1.0 and the collective consciousness of 2.0 aren't opposites. They complement each other.
So our human experience isn't wiped out.
No, it's enriched, given broader context. Duality, good devil, physical, spiritual, starts to resolve into unity.
How does that actually look in practice? How do we live that integration?
Practically, it means living your human 1.0 life fully, but doing it with an awareness of 2.0 principles. Your actions take on deeper meaning. Life becomes a transformation journey, guided by that broader wisdom, not an escape from 1.0.
Does it change how we perceive things?
He suggests it does. Contradictions might dissolve. Communication with that broader reality intuition, synchronicities becomes clearer. That feeling of being separate can lessen.
And for society, if more people integrated this?
The potential implications are huge. Less conflict, less division, maybe. A better merging of technology and spirit. A more harmonious future.
So how can someone, apply this 1.0 plus 2.0 equals one idea day to day?
Gloomy suggests a few things. First, really accept your humanity, all of it. Emotions, flaws, needs, it's all part of the journey.
Okay, acceptance.
Second, stay open to 2.0 influences. Notice intuition, acknowledge synchronicities, be receptive to connection.
Openness.
And third, try to act from unity. Consider the whole. Aim for mutual well-being in your choices.
It really sounds like living with more awareness and intention.
That's a good way to put it. The core message is the world isn't fundamentally divided. You can integrate both aspects for personal growth, collective transformation, a more harmonious way of being.
We've covered a lot of ground. Maybe we can quickly recap the main benefits of aligning with this 2.0 perspective.
Sure. So individually, we're looking at potentially less aggression, less conflict, and then to that deep sense of loneliness through feeling connected.
better intuition.
Yes, enhanced intuition for guidance, more harmony, inner and outer, potentially leading to healing, deeper, more authentic relationships.
And the growth.
Accelerated personal growth, definitely.
Yeah.
Living from connection and compassion. That's the essence.
Now, while this all sounds very positive, Gloomy also talks about potential side effects during this shift towards 2.0. That caught my eye.
Right. He uses the term ascension,
Mm.
but maybe think of it broadly as inner growth, spiritual awakening. As your system, physical, mental, emotional, adjusts to potentially higher frequencies or awareness, yeah, temporary side effects can happen.
Okay, what kind of things? Physically, for example.
Physically. Well, some people report strange sensations like tingling or buzzing. Sleep patterns can change weird dreams, needing more or less sleep.
Any discomfort?
Sometimes, yeah. Mild headaches, muscle aches, maybe a feeling of pressure at the crown of the head. Senses might change to more sensitive to light or sound, maybe vision feels sharper, or you perceive energy subtly.
Interesting. What about mentally or emotionally?
Mentally, maybe feeling a bit disoriented with time or hyper-aware. Sometimes a feeling of mental chaos or just a flood of new insights.
And emotions.
Old stuff might come up, buried emotions surfacing, maybe leading to outbursts temporarily. But it's often part of letting go of old fears. And it can be balanced by feeling more unconditional love, more joy.
So a real mix. How does it affect spirituality or social life?
Spiritually, intuition often gets stronger, more reliable. Mystical experiences might happen, or just a greater sense of energy shifts. More synchronicities, like seeing repeating numbers.
And socially.
Relationships can shift. As you change, who you resonate with might change. Could mean some lonely periods, perhaps, or feeling a stronger pull towards certain people, or even a calling to serve somehow.
It sounds like a deep internal reorganization. Does it impact creativity or just how you see the world?
Definitely. Creativity can explode, tons of ideas, new passions emerging. It's like tapping into something bigger.
And perception.
Reality itself might feel different, lighter, maybe more fluid. Colors seem brighter. Some people report seeing light or energy they didn't see before. Maybe even glimpses of other dimensions, or so they feel.
So it's not necessarily all smooth sailing. What advice does Gloomy give for handling these side effects if they occur?
Yeah, it's important to know it's a process. He really trusts self-care. Grounding is key nature, mindful movement. Listen to your body rest when you need to.
Community helps.
Finding supportive people, yes. Knowing you're not alone in it. And patience. Trusting the transformation, even when it feels weird or uncomfortable.
That sounds like solid advice. Okay, one last concept from Gloomy that really made me think. Viewing media as a mirror.
Ah, yes. That's a really interesting practice he suggests. Approaching media news, movies, whatever, with the mindset that the messages are somehow reflecting your own consciousness.
How did that change things?
It makes it much more active, more personal. Instead of just consuming, you start looking for resonances. Why does this story, this character, grab your attention right now?
Like a dialogue with the media.
Kind of, yeah. Seeking clues about your own beliefs, fears, hopes. What's it mirroring back to you?
And how does that connect to 2.0 or this expanded awareness idea?
Gloomy suggests it can sharpen your intuition. You start noticing symbols, underlying themes you missed before. It's like training your mind to pick up on subtler layers of meaning.
Aligning with that interconnectedness.
Potentially, yes. Making you more receptive. It can also challenge your assumptions, open you to new ways of seeing things.
Why does he think that works? Is it just focus?
That's part of it. Focused attention brings things into awareness. Also, brain plasticity engaging differently keeps your mind flexible. And maybe, just maybe, there's something to the idea that the observer influences reality. Seeking relevance might actually help create it, in a subtle way.
So if someone listening wanted to try this, how would they do it?
He suggests setting an intention first. Before you watch or read, just tell yourself you're open to personal insights. Then, notice what jumps out. Anything surprising, meaningful, resonant, maybe jot it down. Look for patterns over time. Why these themes? And trust your gut feeling about it. Don't force meaning, but stay curious.
Being an active participant, not just passive.
Exactly. It's about engaging with media, and through it, maybe engaging more deeply with yourself and that broader consciousness Gloomy talks about. A playful way to explore.
This has been, yeah, a really illuminating deep dive into Jan Gloomy's 2.0 revolution. It's a powerful vision, isn't it? Personal, collective transformation through connection, growth, awareness.
It really is. And as you, the listener, think about all this, maybe reflect particularly on that idea of synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences. Could you start noticing them more in your own life, seeing them as possible signals?
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. So, a final thought for you to ponder. How might consciously embracing these ideas, interconnectedness, expanded awareness, actually shift your perception of reality and how you engage with the world starting right now? Definitely something to explore. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.